I don't know if I've won yarn chicken or lost yarn chicken. You can decide for me. Hello yarny friends, welcome to episode 2 of Millend Makes. I'm Mads, my co-host Socks is sleeping at the moment, but I'm sure he'll pop by soon to say hi. In this episode, we'll be working with these gorgeous cakes that I found in Millend's bin at Spotlight. If you haven't already seen my yarn haul that I got for Christmas, definitely go check it out. I'll pop it up here and in the description box down below. There are some delicious yarns in that haul. This by far though is my favorite. I was literally jumping up and down at Spotlight. People were staring. It was a bit of a scene, but I was not embarrassed at all because I was so incredibly excited to find this. Now, if you're unaware of Spotlight's Millends, they basically come in 400-gram bags like this, and they're mystery yarn essentially. They could be, you know, like factory overruns, incorrect dye lots, things like that. And yeah, you basically score it for $12. They do go on sale, and this particular bag I managed to score for $6. Now, this yarn I'm like 99.99% sure is Lion Brand's Mandela Ombre Cakes, which here in Spotlight, which is like our main like yarn store in Australia, these 150-gram Mandela cakes basically retail for $14. So 400 grams of it would be around $37, and I scored it for $6. Technically it was free because it was a Christmas present, but let's just go with $6. That means that I saved $30. How good is that? Do you understand now? I was jumping up and down and almost in tears from excitement. It was the best day ever. But this cake has been calling out to me to use it basically since I saw it in December. But my mind thinks this would look incredibly adorable in a wearable. The colors I think would just play out really well in sort of like a ripple top, similar to like the Malibu sweater if you've ever seen it. But I don't really want a sweater. I usually run hot even in winter, so I just wanted a top version of it. And I also didn't really want to pay for a pattern for my first ever wearable. This will be my first ever wearable, which is why I've waited so long to use it. I'm a bit scared. My recovering perfectionist brain is like, don't do it. It's gonna be terrible. You're not experienced enough. But I'm going to take the leap of faith today and try it. And I did manage to find a ripple top pattern for free by Yarn Life, and I'm fairly sure it's called the Summer Waves Top. I will link that down in the description box down below. But yeah, I'm hopefully going to make that top with this yarn. I will see how it goes because that pattern uses sport weight yarn, and this is a worsted. Fairly sure it's a worsted. It looks like a thin worsted weight yarn to me compared to like some of the worsted weights we can find here in Australia. But yeah, I will see how we go with it. But let's cut into it, shall we? Tell me that isn't the most delicious yarn cake you have ever seen. And 3 of them for $6 is freaking incredible. I cannot believe my luck when I found this. It is so incredibly soft and gorgeous. I absolutely love the colors, and I can't believe I scored 3 cakes for $6. Oh my god, mind is literally exploding by the amount of savings that I scored with this one. But I am going to crack into it. I think I'm going to do a gauge swatch first. According to Spotlight's website, the Mandela Ombre Cakes recommend a 4.5mm hook, so I'm just going to swatch that up with that hook just to see if it sort of turns out how I want it to turn out before I crochet the full top. So I will get right into that now if I can find the center pull. I want to do a center pull. Found it. Yarn bath. Woo! At least it's not totally tangled. I should put in the SpongeBob 5 hours later. Will I get copyrighted for that? Maybe we'll just use my voice. 24 hours later. Sorry for my lame humor, guys. I think I'm funny. Socks thinks I'm funny. My partner not so much. Now time to find a crochet hook. This is where I store my clovers. It says random shit in there. It's basically what goes on in my brain. Random shit goes on in there. Sometimes it just comes out and you guys have to deal with it, so I apologize in advance. But if you like my craziness, definitely hit that subscribe button because there's no end of it here. and I already lost my end. Found my hook but lost my end. What a nightmare. If only you could see what my lap looks like right now. It is green vomit in yarn vomit, green yarn vomit. It's not very appealing. Guys, this is insane. I literally lost my yarn end and I found it. Woo. I am about this far into my swatch, which doesn't seem like much, but it's about 2 minutes of work for me, which doesn't include untangling this yarn on my lap. But I just realized I've been doing half double crochets instead of double crochets, so I've got to rip it back now and start again. So I have done one row of the swatch and I realized I followed the pattern incorrectly. So take 3. Hold on. If I am going to frog, I am going to wear my frog hat from episode 1, and look who it is. It is my sock. My long dog sock. He's very cute. Big yawn. My yarn. Don't touch my yarn. It's my precious. My sock. We almost named socks Dobby. So it's a bit funny. It's precious. Set free. Enough of my rambling. Let's get back to ripping my project. Socks is just judging me. I also think I might go down a hook size. It looks sort of okay, but it's a bit too holy for what I want. Socks, can you not sniff my yarn, please? So I'm going to try a 4mm hook and see how I go. Hi, Socks. Do you like my pretty yarn? Okay, we're done with frogging, so this can go away. I think I might just do the starting chain with a bigger hook, just so I can, you know, not crumple the edge of my work. So I've done my swatch, but I did do it incorrectly. But I just can't be bothered redoing it, so I'm just gonna leave it as is. I am gonna rip it out now, and yeah, just hopefully I can read the pattern when I do the actual, you know, pattern for the actual shirt. But since we're ripping it, we are gonna put on our frogging hat and frog, and Socks is just staring at me and judging me. Socks, you wanna join the frog party? And I think I am going to wind up my yarn because I've got a lot of yarn barb here and it did get knotted while I was trying to do the swatch, so I just need to make some organization of this craziness. So fun times! So I've now got a little cake from the yarn vomit of my feet. And I'm going to get started on my top. I am still a bit confused on the pattern. I think it's just my brain is really tired today. But I hope I go well. If not, there's going to be a lot of frogging in store for us today. So I've done my starting chain. It's potentially too big. Way too big. But I'd rather it be baggy than too tight. I think I'm probably overcompensating from, I don't know, being scared of doing a wearable, but I don't know. What do you guys think? I do plan on not doing the sleeves part of this and just sort of making the rest of the shirt the sleeve and then just sewing it down the side. So hopefully this works. I feel like it might be a disaster, but once I've done a few rows, we will decide whether I need to rip it back or if I can just do it like this. So I'm just gonna get my concentration brain on, read the pattern, study the pattern and crochet a few rows, and I will see you once I'm done. I've got my setup row done. This took me way longer than I would like to admit. My eyes and my brain are extremely tired. I was focusing really hard to make sure I don't mess this up, because I did chain 140 and I did mess up my first 3 swatches, so I really did not want to mess this one up given how long of a piece or swatch it was. But essentially from here I've just got to do the pattern row for the desired length, so I will probably do this for a few more hours and then come back and show you once I've got a little bit more of, you know, a sample to show you. It is now Saturday and this is how much I got done last night. I only managed to get in 3 hours of crochet. My brain just didn't want to cooperate. And I also had to watch back my video to check how much I chained and also count how many rows I had done, because I forgot to keep track of that. So I'm currently on row 9, and we do have some color changes going on at the moment as well, which I'm loving, and we're just about to flip into a different type of blue as well. So I'm still on the first cake, obviously. But today is a really lovely day, so we are actually going to go on a little impromptu road trip, or day trip I should say. And I am going to take my project with me and take you with me as well. Sock says hi. He's black so he blends in, but we are on our way. We just stopped at Macca's to get some coffee, some much needed coffee. I feel like my brain is still not functioning today, but yeah. Hopefully today's a better day than yesterday. We will be there in about an hour and 15 minutes, so I will be basically crocheting the entire way. Socks will be sleeping the entire way, but I just wanted to show you my project bag. There's a lot of sunlight, so I'm not sure if you can see it, but there is a little socks on it, a little greyhound. It's really cute. I love it. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, this is my project bag now. I just get it from Temu. I know Temu, but I saw it and I had to have it, so I bought it. But yeah, I'll be crocheting the entire way, and I will see you when we get there. So it's been about 40 minutes. We just stopped by a lookout, but this is where I'm at so far. I think I'm on row 13. We've made it into the purple, so it's really, you know, starting to get a move on. But yeah, we are at a lookout, so I will take you with me so we can look at it together. And we're back 2 seconds later, because Socks thought it was a snack stop instead of a pee stop for him. And yeah, he likes to eat a lot of grass and then choke on it, and sometimes I've got to pull it out of his butt. So we decided to get back in the car and get and move on to our next destination. And we are on a walk. There is my Sock, my partner. Say hi, Derek.
Hello.
We are literally being eaten alive by flies. Like, we do walks a lot, but there are so many flies and mosquitoes and other types of bugs out here. Literally being attacked by them. Look at Socks. That was the Gilbert's Gully Trail. It was about 2 kilometers and took us half an hour to walk. It was pretty, but never in my life have I seen such fat, carefree flies. Socks ate some, I ate one, Derek ate none, and he's the one that planned this trip, so coincidence? I think not. But we're on our way to another little walking trail, so we'll see you when we get there. Trail number 2, and no flies so far, so we're doing great. Socks is a hot dog, so am I. The sun is out, but it is so nice. We're sort of in a rainforest, so it's not too hot. But yeah. Wish it was colder, but can't complain. We pretty much have the place to ourselves. We came pretty early for a weekend, so there's not many people on these tracks. But yeah. Socks is scared of those metal bridges, so Derek has to carry all 34 kilos of him across those bridges. I think I forgot to mention, but we are in Marysville, and the walk that we just went on was the Marysville Beauty Spot Nature Walk. It was so much prettier than the last walk we went to, and a lot cooler as well under all of the trees. We even saw a wallaby, but I was a bit too slow with the camera before it hopped away, so I'm sorry I couldn't show you that. But Socks saw it, I saw it, Derek saw it. Socks didn't care at all. I thought he would. He was just sniffing where it was standing. It was actually quite cute. There was also a bunch of butterflies and birds and things like that, so really lovely walk. And we just stopped by Kemper Cafe, I believe it is, Kempel Cafe, to have brunch, and we'll probably make our way back home now. It is starting to heat up a little bit and get a little bit crowded. We might just stop by on at a few lookouts on the way back, but otherwise I will see you when I get home. So we got home about 3 hours ago, and I was dealing with a little bit of a situation, so no crochet got done in that time. I will get into that very soon, but unfortunately majority of the way back I did not get much crochet done either. All went swimmingly for about 20 minutes. So this is how much I got done basically since I started, which was last night. And I think from memory I was on row 9 when we left home this morning, and I am currently on row 22, but it is just literally the start of row 22. If you can see there, that's my little yarn tail. So essentially 21 rows complete. This is how much I've got so far. So I would say about halfway done, potentially maybe just a little under half. I don't know how long I want it to be. I'll just sort of, put it against myself and see how we go. But when I got to this lovely tail, the reason there's a tail here, because we didn't finish the yarn cake, is because there was a knot. Now, I don't mind knots. This entire piece, there were no knots. It was just color changing yarn, all was going swimmingly. It gave me false hope because I ended up finding that this little green bit was knotted with purple. Now, how this has worked up so far is the start of the ball, which if you remember I pulled from the middle. So the middle of the ball had light green, which is what we're on right now. And then I moved on to dark green, and then like a light blue, and then a darker blue, and then a purple, a pink, and then back to light green. So I was expecting darker green obviously, but we got purple, and I was, sort of tossing up in my mind, do I want to, go purple so quickly? Because purple's right here. So we literally went from purple to pink to green, light green, and then back to purple. I was like, is that too close? Because, there's so many other colors after the light green before you get to purple. But I was like, just go with it. It's a yarn cake. Who cares if there's a knot? Just, there's no point you trying to find the perfect colors to make this perfect, because it will not be perfect. And so I continued crocheting, but I didn't get far. I went about 3 humps. And what I mean by that, sorry, my brain thinks weird things. 3 humps for me are like these little top curvy bits. So, I obviously changed color, like I cut the knot off, obviously. Sorry, I think I got like a bee sting or something. Not a bee sting, that would be way bigger, like an insect bite. Sorry, stop rambling. So yeah, I changed color, just cut off the knot and then changed color the normal way, and then just, was crocheting over my ends so I didn't have to weave into it. And then I obviously, you know, did the increases, double crochets, decreases, increases again, double crochet, decreases, back to the increase, and then I found another knot. And this time it had changed back to the green that I was currently working in. And it was way too short of a purple for me to be okay with it. So I was like, I need to pull this back up, rip it back up, sorry, and snip off the two knotted purple pieces together and maybe work with the rest. But so I did that. So I ripped my work apart, snipped, put that purple aside in a nice little ball, which is here. Like, that's how much purple there was knotted between the two light greens. But I was sort of looking at the inside of the cake, and I'm like, the way that this started, it went from light green to dark green, and the rest of the light green that I found did not look like it was going to go to dark green. So out of curiosity, I started pulling it and obviously balling it up to see how that light green sort of transitioned. And lo and behold, there was another knot not far along. I think this was it. So this was how much light green I ended up pulling up, if my camera would like to focus. So it's that much. So I was like, whatever, snip the knots, because that's what I do. Like, I just weave in ends. I don't want to deal with like the factory knots, because those come apart. Like, literally, I've pulled it, it's come apart, don't want to deal with that. So I snipped it, but that's where everything fell apart. Like, literally everything fell apart. Now, take you back to the start of this video where I wanted to pull from the center, because that's the beauty of a yarn cake. You pull from the center. That, you know, that's basically what it's for. And pulling from the center is so much easier. I usually pull from the outside if I'm not going to use the full skein, because I know what happens when you pull from the center. It collapses in on itself. But I intended to use the whole skein, and I also did not know at the time that I was going to travel today and that I was going to take my project with me. That sort of just happened when we woke up this morning, but bad decisions were made last night. In hindsight, that was a terrible decision. I should have started from the outside. Well, actually, I don't know. I think starting from the inside was still, you know, the lesser of two evils, because I got this much yarn unknotted, basically. But enough of my rambling. Basically, what happened was a gazillion knots unfolded itself, and the cake, while I was unraveling those two knots, so the purple and the green, collapsed in on itself and created a massive mess of yarn bath. Like, so much knots and mess. Just, it didn't even look like a cake anymore. It looked like, you know, I don't know, a unicorn threw up. There was pink and purple yarn and green just everywhere, like sprayed across my lap. And so yeah, I spent about 30 minutes on the way back unraveling it. Got home 3 hours ago, continued to unravel it, and while I did that, I found more knots. So in a way, I am glad that I started from the center, because this all was unknotted. So this is basically one piece of unknotted yarn. And we've got two, which was connected by a knot to number 3. Now from here, I don't remember the order, because it was, you know, just vomit, and I was just sort of pulling at any end that I found, or if there was a knot, I was snipping it off and trying to unravel it. So the rest is just in a random order, but that's so far 3 pieces of yarn that were knotted together. Then we've got 4. This is a different purple. There were a few different purples, so whatever I'm showing you is not a double up or a duplicate. There's really that much purple. So that was the 4th piece of yarn that was knotted to another piece of yarn. And then number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8, 9, 10, 11, and number 12. Now this is the biggest bowl, and this was actually one of the ends from the outside of the cake, because the outside was still sort of, you know, in a semi cake form. So what I ended up doing was like literally wrapping that part of the cake around my arm, and I was just trying to untangle the vomit while trying not to tangle this piece of yarn. It was a whole scene. I really wish I would have got a picture, but I did end up catching one after I'd already, you know, unraveled some of it, and you know, just before we got out of the car. But I will put that somewhere in here if I remember to do so. But yeah, there was so much yarn vomit and so much knots. But I mean, on the bright side, starting in the middle gave me this, so I can't really complain. So it's about halfway, I think, maybe a little under or over halfway. I'll sort of see how long I want it once you know, I work out more rows. But that is the plan for the rest of the night, because I've got to catch up on time obviously and procrastinate from studying. So even though this was really annoying to untangle and unknot, it was just another reason not to study, so I'm very grateful for that. So yeah, I will just continue to crochet up more rows. Hopefully, if I can, I want to try and finish this by tonight, or at least tomorrow morning, because I plan on starting the second panel tomorrow morning, and depending on how much free time I get, I would really love to finish this weekend, so fingers crossed for that. So my plan to finish this piece, I think, with all of these knots that I've got, is potentially to use these two, which is like a dark green and then a dark green that goes to a blue. I will see how I go with it though, because I don't think this green will be enough to finish one row, and most of these, the colors across about 4 rows, I think, or like 3 rows maybe. So I will see how I go with that. I don't think I'm going to bother with the smaller pieces, just because I don't want to deal with that many knots in a single panel. I will find a different use for it. Yarn never goes to waste here. But if that doesn't work out, I think I might just start on a different yarn cake and cross my fingers and toes that I don't run into more knots. And yeah, I'll hopefully get this done today, and I will see you tomorrow. Last night did not go to plan, and excuse this, I'm just unraveling or re-raveling my yarn because I keep dropping my yarn balls. And I'm sorry about my croaky voice. I think I am definitely coming down with something, so I sound a bit weird this morning, so sorry about that. Sorry that you have to listen to it. But last night did not go to plan at all. I did intend to use some of these from the first cake, the dark green ones, to sort of transition from the lighter green that I was on to the darker green, and then, you know, onto the other colors. But I did have another look at my 2 remaining yarn cakes before I did that, and I realized that the outer edge of one of the cakes actually had dark green, and from a first glance it did look like the right colors were sort of in order. Like, what I mean by that is that there was dark green, like the edge that I found was dark green, and on the outside of the cake there was, you know, the blues, and then I did see a bit of purple and things like that. So I was like, okay, this is probably, you know, going to work out. I probably wouldn't have to deal with ends. I can deal with them later if I need to when I run out of yarn. So I started crocheting. I didn't get very far. I got like maybe 6 double crochets in or something like that, and then my yarn cake fell on the floor, and you know, the piece that I was working on basically had snapped. Well, it didn't snap, but there was a knot. But these knots are so loosely tied that literally just the cake falling on the floor caused it to separate. And this was literally what I had been crocheting, not realizing that there was a knot, obviously. So this got ripped out, obviously, because I wasn't just gonna, you know, work over ends just for like 6 double crochets and then have to change color and do it again. So for my sanity's sake, I decided to start unraveling that second skein of yarn, or second cake from the outside, obviously, because it didn't look like there was a lot of green on the outside, and I did want to have at least 2 rows of the dark green to sort of match the rest of this panel. It's a good thing I did do that though, because there were more knots. So yeah, I started balling up, you know, the yarn, and then I found this lovely gem in there too, which was literally, this is a lighter green, this is the darker green. Like, why even include these in there? Why take the effort of tying these tiny scraps into the cake? Like, what difference does it make? I don't think this is useful for anything other than stuffing. So this is gonna go in my little like amigurumi scrap bin that I use to stuff my amigurumi. But excluding those, there were 4 basically separate pieces of yarn that were knotted together, not including those weird things. This is the center of it. I did not unball this one. I sort of did pull out from the center because by the time I got to this edge bit, I was on purple, and from what I could see, the center of that cake was purple. So my plan was to sort of just, you know, pull from the center for that cake and then continue working purple and then sort of moving colors that way. But it actually was blue when I pulled it out, so I just ended up reballing it, but I'm fairly sure it was blue, purple, pink, and then the light green. I didn't unravel the pink and the light green, so I don't know if there's any knots in there, hopefully not. But yeah, so there were 3 other balls, basically the green to like this blue, then the blue got cut, and then the blue to like whatever. There was like 2 different balls of blue, 2 blue balls, so weird. And then the blue to the purple a little bit, and then I did not have enough purple to obviously finish one entire row, so I just ate into some of these from the first cake. And this is where I'm at so far. It is very short, so if I want it to be like a normal length, this is where it's at so far. So definitely not where I want to be, but I did just have a random thought that since basically I've used half of the second cake, and then I've got this, which shouldn't take me far. There's like 3 and a bit colors. I don't think there's much blue in there, but that really will not take me far at all. And then I've only got 1 cake left after that, which is this one. And given how we went with the first 2 cakes that was riddled with knots, I am just a little bit worried that there's going to be heaps of knots in this one as well. And I don't really want to deal with really tiny balls like this, for example. It wouldn't really get me far, and then I just don't want to have to deal with multiple ends in a single row. So I don't plan to use this until it's like the worst case scenario. But yeah, I am a bit worried now because I feel like we're going to be playing yarn chicken. Like I can already see a knot out there. So my plan for this morning is to unravel this from the outside, separate them into, you know, the unknotted pieces, so I know that the number of balls I have in here or I get out of this don't contain any knots. And then I'll sort of look at the size of the balls, the colors that I have, and then potentially start working on the second panel. I have a feeling this might become a crop top. I don't really wear crop tops, but I might just pair it with like really high-waisted jeans or something like that. But yeah, I'm just a bit nervous now. So that's the plan for this morning. I'm just gonna pop on a random YouTube video just to keep me busy, and then yeah, start pulling apart this yarn, balling it up. Hopefully it's not that big of a mess, and then yeah, I will see you once I've got all of the balls sorted. And we're done with the last one. So many knots, it's crazy. So this was the center of the cake, which is the biggest ball. I'm gonna imagine that this little bit from the second cake is also has no knots, because so far this didn't have any knots. The first one that I sent to pull didn't have any knots, so I'm gonna assume this one, fingers crossed, does not have any knots. So that's 1 from cake number 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this tiny thing, which is number 6. Oops, I'm dropping balls. So cake number 3 had 6 different pieces of yarn connected by knots. Cake number 2 had 4 from memory, so that's 10. And cake 1 I think had 12. So in 3 cakes we have had 22 different pieces of yarn connected by knots. We've got knots for days. So looking at all of the yarn that I have now, there is a lot of green. So I think what I'm going to start doing is making the second panel and start with light green. So I started with light green on this one, so the light green's down the bottom, and then I changed to like dark green and then blues and things like that. This last ball that I wound up from the center of the third cake has dark green and then it moves to blue. So basically like the same order as what I've got down there. And I've also got just some standard green from this ball. So I think what I'm going to start doing is start creating the foundation chain and the first panel in this light green, similar to the first one. And then once I've got a little bit of green worked up, I'm going to move on to this big ball, which has like the dark greens and blues and things like that. I think that should get us up to around here. And then I think what I might do, I'll see how I go, but I might then be into this center from the second cake. It will just be like different colors. It won't match up the first panel exactly, but I don't think we have a choice. It's just going to be a random mess. So yeah, I'm going to work with this one. Next is my thoughts on this. That should hopefully get us maybe like another 3 color changes, which should bring us up to here. And then this will be a bit of a random mix. I will see how the colors sort of play out, what colors I'm left with. There is so much green though, so I have a feeling there's just going to be heaps and heaps of green. I think I've got to mention before, but there are 34 rows on this, obviously not including the chain. So from the first actual rows of like creating the waves, that's row number 1. And this up here, the purple, is row number 4. So depending on how I go with creating the second panel, I think I might need to do a little bit of modification potentially. And I don't think we will get a full-size top out of this just looking at what I've got. So I think this is turning out to be a little bit of a fail, but not giving up just yet. I'm gonna push through. I'm gonna get whatever I can get done, and if it's terrible, it will just be a learning opportunity for me to check my yarn cakes before I start crocheting. So yeah, I am just gonna start tackling panel number 2. I'm gonna grab my 4.5mm hook just to do the chains, just so I'm not wrinkling up the ends. And yeah, I will probably, I don't know, work something out. Hopefully it's not too chaotic, but yeah. Super quick update. I have been basically crocheting all of today, but I've only gotten 15 rows into the second panel. The first panel I think was 34 or 35 rows, so I'm just under halfway. I've just started working on the second larger ball of yarn, and once I get done with this, I will likely be using these 2 balls as well. They're the larger of the little balls that I've got. I think I will basically need all of this to get up to the 34-35 row mark on this panel. Worst case scenario, I will eat into these little balls, which there are 11 of them, but hopefully I won't need to, because my plan from there is to basically sort of just maybe work a row or 2 more with these little scraps, and then depending on how much yarn I have left and if it's at a length that I like, my plan from there is either to crochet just on the sides, so to continue the waves on the sides with the scraps that I have to create like little sleeves, so it'll be sort of like there in the center, crocheted up, and then hopefully have sleeves. Worst case scenario, if I don't have enough yarn, I might just do like 1 or 2 waves to create like thick straps, and then just create like a sleeveless kind of top. So I'll see how I go using the yarn and how much yarn scraps I need to use, and I should hopefully have an update for you in a few days. It is Friday and I am officially done, and I'm so tired, but I'm so incredibly happy to be done with my first ever wearable. It was a task and a half, honestly. It was honestly, I felt like the crochet gods were like,
you cannot make this. You are not capable of making wearables. Go back, run now.
Like from the 22 yarn balls that we had, the gazillion knots, the yarn buff that was all over my lap in the car, to running out of yarn, sort of. I don't know if I've won yarn chicken or lost yarn chicken. You can decide for me. But basically on Wednesday, it was just a lot of thinking of how I can get this to work, because I realized that I was not going to have enough yarn to actually get this to a length that I wanted and to sort of be the vision that I had in my head. It was sort of turning out to be like a crop top, but I wouldn't really wear that out of the house, and I did want to because I love the colors in this cake. They look really beautiful and I loved the style of it. I love that the color changes were sort of wavy and not just, you know, in straight lines. I guess that's sort of what I wanted, so I was really determined to make it work. I did come up with a plan, but honestly it was like touch and go. I was almost going to rip it apart and make the panels like narrower, like, because I chained 140 obviously because I wanted it baggy. I honestly thought about ripping it back, making it less just so I could have a little bit more, but luckily my brain slapped me in the face and said, don't you dare do that. But so essentially I have this much yarn left over, which is a miracle in my opinion, because I literally thought that I wouldn't have enough yarn to sew my pieces together. I was highly considering using the other colorway that I have in this cake. I think it was the colorway Cool, to stitch the pieces together. It's the same yarn, just different color, and I was just gonna hope that no one notices, but luckily we didn't have to do that. Enough of blabbering. This is what it looks like. So this is the first panel that I created. When I last left you, I was on row 34, so that's where I had actually finished off on this panel. I didn't, you know, fasten off my work because I knew I still had to work on it. And by the time I came up with that plan, I realized I would have enough yarn to work with, even if it meant using a different color to sort of connect my ends. Whatever. This is my wrong end. Oopsie. Sorry. It was inside out, which doesn't really matter because it's the same inside and out, but I have more ends on the inside and I, you know, want to show nice things on camera. Apologies about my unpreparedness. My brain is just so tired and so happy to be done with this. But this is the first panel. So I did crochet row number 35, and then to make the yarn stretch as much as possible, to try and make the panels as long as possible, I decided just to create the waves on the shoulder bits. So I did 3 more waves on either side, both on the front and the back panel. This is what the back panel looks like. And then I just created like a flattening row, which the pattern actually has you do it at the bottom. I did not read the pattern all the way, and by the time I got to the bit that I was ready to sort of flatten it out and not create the waves essentially, so I could join the front and the back together, I realized that that was not going to happen because the math wasn't mathing for me. So I winged it. It worked out fine. It was still a bit bumpy, so I just crocheted a second like finishing row of just straight double crochets to try and sort of even it out. But yeah, we got there in the end. And then I just spent Thursday sewing these together, and then today was just spent weaving in my ends, which is the worst part in my opinion, because you're so close to being done but you're not yet done, and I don't consider a project done until all the little bits are done, like the little tedious annoying bits. But yeah, I really like that it is, you know, it ends on different colors, so depending on what color I want closer to my face, if I wanted the purple and the pinks closer to my face, I could wear it this way, and if I wanted greens, I could just wear it this way, so it's reversible essentially, which is what I wanted. I loved how the colors turned out. The second panel sort of follows the same color pattern as the first panel, so it starts off same until about here. So instead of the purple transitioning to pink, I just did a green and then I did pink, and then it sort of reverses itself. So it goes purple, which is like here, then the blues, and then the like other blue, and then the green, and like sort of reversing it. Whereas this first panel that I created, the color transitions in a similar order. So it's like dark green, light green, 2 different blues, purple, pink, light green, dark green, and then continues on. So this one's sort of like, you know, symmetrical, this one's sort of inverted, whatever the words are, because my brain is not braining today. I will put a video of me wearing it. It's not perfect. It is sort of the fit that I wanted it to be. I did want it to be a bit oversized. When I lift up my arms, it does dry up a little bit, but I don't mind, honestly. And it's at a length now that I actually like. I will wear this out of the house. Even though it's not perfect, I would still definitely wear this out of the house now, because it is a bit longer and I'm more comfortable in it. But yeah, I am proud of completing my first ever wearable that isn't like a beanie, because like beanies, they can sort of make them fit anyone, but I really can't actually, because my first beanie ever was too small and my second beanie ever was too big. So maybe I shouldn't say that, but I feel like they're a lot easier than wearables. But I'm happy with it. I obviously did not follow the pattern to a T, but that's because I had to. I had to try and make this work. But yeah, what do you think? I don't think I'm gonna do a wearable, at least for another few weeks. I just want to give my brain a break from trying to work out how I'm gonna make this work. But I did learn a lot of lessons. Every crochet project for me is an opportunity to learn things. There are some mistakes that I've learned from. One of them is this little edge bit kind of looks a bit messy the way I've sewn it together. It does look neater on the inside, which I didn't realize until just before filming, after it already sewed in my ends to that side. So, but whatever, like no one's gonna stare at my clothes up close and personal, so like I don't think anyone will notice. I just noticed because I made it. But yeah, I love it. My partner didn't even notice, so if that's anything. But yes, we are done with episode 1 of Millend Makes. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, I appreciate you. I love each and every one of you. You are what make me want to put out this content, despite me things like this almost bringing me to tears, but it's okay. I think my brain's just tired now, so I should stop talking. So I will see you in my next video. Thank you so much for sticking around, and yeah, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. But yeah, have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.